Hi, I'm Sonja and I help people take their power back. If you're interested in one-on-one coaching with me or you want to support my channel, my Ko-Fi link is in the description. This video, I am going to tell my story because somebody asked me in a comment to do so. So here we are. When I first read that comment, I was like, yeah, I can tell my story. And then I'm like, what do I tell about what do I talk about? And then I started thinking about my life and it's like, whoa, I really have been manifesting my whole life, haven't I? It's really, really crazy when you start to understand and you realize how much it is just the way that you think about things is what you are mirrored back. For me, looking back at the past, it's like, yeah, no wonder things were that way. But anyway, so I really see my life and think about my life now, and I am petting my dog. If you're wondering why I'm doing weird things, Jax is over here. I think about my life now as, before I knew anything about manifesting, when I had found manifesting but had no clue what it was. And then, there were kind of sections to that, but then coming into understanding what it is and really working with manifesting for what it actually is. And I will just be fucking honest with you, I am still learning and mastering it myself. I feel like that is something that will forever be growing and changing and evolving as I grow and evolve and change as well. And I will tell you, starting on YouTube has sped that process up quite a bit, but we'll get there. So growing up, I didn't know anything about manifesting at all. It was always work hard, be logical, solve problems, figure it out, that kind of stuff. And I just lived my life really fucking around in the 3D. I'll just put it that way. It was, I can figure out how to make this better. I can figure out how to do this. And I can, that I never focused on my mindset. There were just certain things that I had in my brain for some fucking reason or another of like, this will work out and I'll figure it out. And that is what was mirrored back to me. So looking back at my life, I go, yeah, that makes sense now. But after I got out of high school, I didn't want to go to college. So I got into personal training and didn't like that and ended up falling into dog grooming. After one day, I'm like, I want to bathe dogs. I don't know where that came from. But I knew where one grooming salon in the area was. I didn't have dogs. Like, I didn't grow up with dogs. I don't know where dogs came from, but I've always loved animals. I grew up with parrots, but dogs, I don't know why I was like, I want to bathe the dogs. Went to that one salon, had the most awkward conversation, who turned out to be the owner of the salon. It turned out that they were going to open another salon somewhat close, and after having that awkward conversation, I left thinking, well, that was a waste of time. But 2 months later, they called me and wanted to hire me and train me to groom and work at their second location. So I got into dog grooming and I groomed dogs for 11 and a half years. And in that time, the person who was supposed to be training me, she'll even admit, she's like, I'm not a good teacher. So I really taught myself how to groom dogs. And when I say I taught myself, I mean, I taught myself how to groom dogs. I didn't just learn how to groom dogs. I did what most groomers do not do, because the dog grooming industry is not regulated. You do not have to have any education to be a dog groomer in most states at the moment. I decided I wanted to become a nationally certified master dog groomer with the National Dog Groomers Association of America. And I worked my way from knowing nothing about being around dogs to being an NCMG. And it took a long time because of me not knowing about manifesting. I can look back and be like, man, if I knew about manifesting, my grooming career would have been completely different. But if I knew what I knew now, I wouldn't have even stayed in dog grooming. About, I don't know, 3 months in, maybe. I can't remember the timeline exactly, but I remember just being like, I don't know about this. I don't know if I want to groom dogs. Ugh. And I remember talking to my mom. I called her from work and was like, I don't know if I want to do this. I don't know if I can do this. And my mom was like, well, if you're not going to stick with this, what are you going to stick with? And being 20 years old and being logical and all the things, I had no idea what I would do if I didn't groom dogs. So in that moment, dog grooming became my life. And when I say my life, I mean my life. I didn't have a life other than working and studying and learning and trying to understand dog grooming. I jumped from salon to salon to salon. That salon, it was later the same year that I started. My mom actually started bathing at that salon. And then years later, my mom and I ended up buying that salon. And in 2015, I worked with my mom, my brother owning a grooming salon. And we had that for 5 years. It was a year after we bought the salon, which was something I wanted. I had kind of dreamed about owning my own salon, having not enjoyed working for other people. The best job I had was the one that I started in. And honestly, looking back, I wish I would have just made that work, because working other places was not fun either. But again, I shouldn't have been doing it in the first place. Live and learn. But I can look back at that time in my life and be like, yeah, I manifested all those shitty jobs. I manifested all those experiences. I manifested all of that. It was all a reflection of me. It really was. So in 2016, it was a year after we had the shop. I had reached my goal. I thought that's what I wanted in life, to own a business. And here I am. My dad was having a lot of health problems, and at the beginning of 2016 had a liver transplant at 55 years old, and it was not because of alcohol. And he had been going to all the doctors, had all the tests, all the things, had been going to a liver specialist, ended up in the hospital, and they're like, your organs are failing. Why aren't you on the liver transplant list? You need a liver transplant. And within 2 or 3 weeks of him being in the hospital, he had a liver transplant. And that experience, that was my first, if you want to call it a spiritual awakening, that was it. I had the business thinking that that's what I wanted. That happened, and I started to question my life and just what am I doing, and all the things. So from that, and even looking back at that, the whole time with everything going on with my dad, I do not remember thinking that my dad wasn't going to be okay. My default mindset through all of that was yeah, my dad will be fine. It's fine. Everything's perfect. Why? I couldn't fucking tell you, but I'm yeah, everyone was saying at the time how insane it is, because people are on the transplant list for years before they get transplants. And my dad went from I'm not on the list to I need to be on the list to having the actual procedure in a matter of weeks. I had no idea about manifesting. I had no idea about mindset. I have no fucking clue why that was my default mindset in that situation, but it was. And you can ask my dad. He will tell you he was convinced he wasn't going to make it. So that's what I'm saying. Now I can look back at things and be like, whoa, yeah, I have always been manifesting. So getting into personal development got me into social media marketing and thinking I wanted to be in an MLM. I was like, I need to make more money. I'm not making enough money. I don't want to do more dogs. I don't want to build up the business, just like all this stuff, because I wasn't doing what I wanted. I didn't know what I wanted, all that stuff, right? Um, got into the personal development, started learning things and growing as a, changing myself some, had no idea about manifesting, had no idea about mindset, but just was learning. And it was the beginning of 2018 when I just lost my shit. We were having a lot of things going on at the shop, and just all the, me not wanting to admit that I didn't want to be doing this. I think it was right after, I can't remember when I ended up finishing my master groomer stuff, but like I had everything I thought I wanted. Things weren't the way I wanted them to be. I couldn't figure out what was wrong. I felt like I needed to be doing more, because that's what I was taught. Do more, do more, do more. Fix it. That's what I believed I had to do. And I was convinced, even though I was like, had no fucking life outside of work and learning and trying to be better and doing more, I didn't understand that is not how shit works. And so it all came to a head one day, and I just lost it, and I was in tears, and I'm like, I can't fucking do this anymore. And in my personal development learning, I had found somebody talking about EMDR therapy. I had done therapy a little bit in the past, because I have always struggled with anxiety and depression and stuff like that, which is a whole other story. But it brought, like, that first round of therapy was right before we bought the shop. It kind of helped some, but I was like, if I ever want to do therapy again, I want to do EMDR. So I found a therapist while I was still crying that practiced and did EMDR and started going to therapy. And I did that for, I think, about 9 months. And it was from my therapist that I found manifesting. And no, she wasn't like, you need to learn how to manifest. No, she was like, I would go in there and be like, I don't know what I want. Well, do you want to groom or do you not want to groom? I don't know. I don't know what I want. I don't know what I want. That was my biggest problem. And that was a problem going back to when I was a kid. I don't know what I want. And again, reflected back to me for my whole life, repeating that in my head, that I don't know what I want. Seeing that manifestation over and over and over again. So she mentioned a vision board. She's like, you need a vision board. And I was like, a what? Why? Like, what? So it piqued my curiosity, and I went home and Googled, and I think I went on YouTube. It's like vision boards, like what is this and why do I want one? I had no idea. And that was my entrance into manifesting. Obviously it was law of attraction at that point. It was the thing I remember finding was part of an Oprah episode on YouTube that was talking, that had a lot of the people who were in The Secret on there, and just being like, okay, I don't understand. I didn't understand at all. At fucking all. But it intrigued the crap out of me. So I just kept, learning. And it was at that point that I've mentioned before, I was grooming all day. I was so miserable. I did not want to be there, but I didn't really have another option. And, that was, again, because of the way I viewed the world and the way I showed up in the world, all that stuff. Like, I see it now, right? But I was, like, stuck there grooming dogs all day. and I was listening to podcasts, and this is where I find it so funny now that I was listening to Kevin Smith podcasts. A lot of Smodcast and Jay and Silent Bob Get Old, a little bit of Hollywood Babylon, but hearing especially Kevin Smith and Scott Mosier talking about Clerks. He talked a little bit about it with Jason Mewes too, but like their experience with Clerks and how Kevin just decided he was going to be a director and went to film school and met Scott and they made Clerks and had no idea how in the world they were going to they just knew that people would see it and it would sell, but they had no fucking idea. And like the crazy story of how they got into Sundance and ended up being I think the second movie to ever sell at Sundance when movies were not sold at Sundance. Like, it's fucking crazy. And it's like, I was listening to a story of manifestation without even knowing that that's what I was fucking listening to. It just was like, wow, that is such a crazy story. But that's what I was listening to all day. And the other thing I started listening to was a podcast about manifesting that I found. And again, learning about manifesting, reading about it, watching YouTube videos, trying to figure it out. I didn't understand. I did not fucking understand. I had no idea. I was like, okay, well, this person says this and that person says this, and I was trying to figure out like what manifesting was and how it worked, and like I didn't know how to make it. I didn't know how to make it work. I didn't know what it was. I was so fucking lost. But I kept learning. Just like I did with grooming. I became obsessed with manifesting, and I was like, there's something to this. I need to understand. I want to understand. I want my life to be better. And doing all the personal development work and doing things the way I was taught to do them. Like, I knew that what I was doing wasn't working. So it's like, maybe this is the answer. And just for some reason was like, if this isn't the answer, it's going to lead me to it. I don't know why that was, again, just like with my dad, I don't know why that was my mindset. Going back to my dog grooming days, like, which we were kind of still in, but my becoming a master groomer, I've told this story before, but I didn't have the kind of dogs I needed to practice on and to use for certification. But for some reason, I had it in my head that it was going to happen, and I ended up going with my mom to a NDGAA event, sat next to somebody who was like, I have poodles if anybody needs poodles. I ended up having a conversation with her, ended up, while I was talking to her, getting the attention of the head certifier of NDGAA, and between those two people, I got all the dogs I needed for certification. Again, had no idea that me being like, this is going to happen, but I don't know how, did jack shit. I had no fucking clue. But looking back, I'm like, yep, that was my mindset about that. Absolutely. I just was like, yeah, it's going to work itself out. I'm going to get the dogs. And they showed up. But, you know, starting to learn about manifesting, things started getting better. I was somewhat admitting to myself that I didn't want to groom, and what I thought I wanted to do was teach grooming online, because from all the fucking business people I was listening to and learning about, you know, social media and MLMs and like that kind of crap, they're like, just teach what you know. And I was like, well, I know dog grooming. And so I never actually got on social media. I did all the businessy things to like build a business to start doing that, and spent a lot of money trying to do that, and I never really did that. But at the end of the day, again, I never wanted to be a dog groomer, but I would not admit that to myself because of a comment that my mom made to me when I was 20, and because of the way that I interpreted what she meant and how I viewed the world at that time. So we So where am I here? That was like 2018. I was learning and going to therapy, and then I stopped going to therapy, and things were better. And I knew I needed to get away from the shop, and we were gonna, close down the shop, walk away from the shop, sell the shop, something. We ended up signing a 1 more year lease, and it was in the end of 2019 where I couldn't do it anymore. Some shit happened, and I'm like, I fucking can't do this anymore, and I just walked away one day from my business and never went back. But before that, it was the beginning of 2019, I started working with a law of attraction coach because I was like, I do not understand this. And from all that personal development shit, everyone's like, if you need to learn something, just hire a coach and they'll help you. And so I hired somebody thinking, that they actually knew what the fuck they were talking about. And I worked with that coach for over 3 years. So when that was the beginning, it was like May of 2019, and I quit grooming in November of 2019. So in that span, I was, doing everything the coach was telling me to do. It was group coaching. So I was like getting on calls and stuff and doing all the things that I was doing everything I was being told. I was asking questions. I was trying to understand. I, felt like things were working and shifting, but I didn't understand. Like I didn't understand. And I was just like doing things. And so when things came crashing down, it was my brother, I think, who was like, maybe you need to stop working with this coach. I don't think it's working. I don't think it's doing anything. But for some reason, I felt like it was. Like internally, I felt like things were different. Looking back, knowing what I know in this moment, I did not hire a coach. I joined a cult. That is what it fucking was. I joined a law of attraction cult. But I did not know that at that time. Yeah. So I was working with that coach. I quit grooming. I had no fucking clue what I was gonna do. I remember getting on a call with my coach and being like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I have no fucking money. I need a fucking job. I could not find a job. And her just being like, well, things will work out. And like the next day or a couple days later, I ended up getting a job as a waitress in February of 2020. And I spent from February of 2020 to October of 2021 as a waitress. Still working with this coach, being in this cult. And the reason I say all of that is this coach was not coaching me with anything. It was, what do you want? Okay, I want this. Okay, well, you can't decide if you get that. You'll either get that or something better. And if you don't have it, then you obviously need to go feel your feelings because you're not feeling them. And that's why you're not getting your shit. And, if you're angry or sad, you should feel that. But if you want to manifest, what you want, what would you feel if you had it? And you should go feel that as much as you can because that's how you manifest. And we're going to script and we're going to do all these assignments, but we're not going to actually focus on our mindset. And if anytime I asked, I'm having, this is bothering me, what do I do about it? It was like, well, why do you even have to think about it? And I was like, yeah, that's true. I guess I don't. But I was not consistently changing my thoughts. I wasn't paying attention to my thoughts. I was doing a lot of act as if bullshit. I was scripting. We had to do these workshops. where we were like scripting out our life 5 years from where we are. And I had this like such grandiose vision of like what I wanted my life to be. And it was like, how in the fuck am I going to get there? Because I didn't understand what manifesting is. I had no idea. No matter what happened in my life, my knee-jerk reaction is, I wonder what my coach would say about this. For over 3 years. And it wasn't just me. I talked to other people in the group, and all of us, whenever I talked to anybody, would be like, oh, I wonder what their opinion on this would be. That's not a coach. That's a cult leader. So, I actually, when was it? The beginning of 2021, that coach was like, I want to start hiring coaches to help me build my business more. And, excuse me, my nose itches. I ended up being one of the people that she wanted to train to be a coach for her. And at the last minute, like, I was so excited. I thought, it's like, this is kind of what I wanted to do. I kind of knew that at that point, that I wanted to teach manifesting, but like, I didn't understand it. And then she offered that to me, and I was so excited. And when it came to like making it official, I couldn't do it. There was just this like feeling in my gut of like, do not fucking say yes to this. Do not do it. And I couldn't explain it because it felt like, I'm a waitress. I don't want to be a waitress. This is a step in the right direction. It's something I think I'll enjoy. At this point, I thought I was working with somebody who understood what the fuck they were doing, right? And I couldn't say yes. And I ended up saying no. And it was at that point where I had to figure out like what the fuck I was doing. If I wasn't going to work with them and I knew I kind of wanted to coach, like what the fuck am I doing? And I at that point kind of I wasn't really doing the coaching. Like, I was still like in it. It's a whole thing. I don't want to get like really into it, but like I was still involved in the coaching, but not. And I was kind of like trying to do my own thing, trying to figure things out. Somewhere along the lines of all this, I think it was like the end of 2020, I found like the people talking about star seeds and like that kind of stuff, and light workers and empaths. And I didn't realize that they're very law of attraction too. I didn't understand what any of these people were talking about. I didn't understand how to make my life better. I was doing all this shit and like calling it manifestation. I was literally just saying that like good things that happened to me were now a manifestation. Not understanding what was actually happening. Again, I can look back to my time at the restaurant and be like, yeah, if I would have been thinking about things this way, shit would have been different. And I can tell you things that I manifested at the restaurant that I know that I manifested because of the way I was thinking about it. Not because of the way I felt, not because of all the bullshit I was doing to pretend to be something. Like, none of that shit. None of that shit. None of it. It was always my thoughts. But I didn't know that at that point. It was, when was it? It was the beginning of 2020. I got into tarot cards. That was when I started reading tarot. I started watching videos on YouTube. September of 2020, I started buying my own decks and started doing readings for people, and they were like, wow, you're scary accurate. So then I kind of thought I wanted to be a tarot reader. Then I got that offer to be a coach, to learn to be a coach, and said no, and was like, okay, well, is tarot something or is it not? And I was like, yeah. So I started studying tarot more. And come October of 2021, I had the same kind of thing happen as I did with grooming, where I was like, I have to get the fuck out of here. Like, I can't do this. And just one day quit my job at the restaurant and was like, I'm going to start doing tarot readings on, it was going to be, my initial thing was YouTube, but I ended up on TikTok. And a couple things happened when I was on TikTok. First off, I manifested one of my videos going viral. I did not know that was how, I didn't know that that's what I did at that time, but I just kept in my head being like, yeah, I'm going to go viral. I'm going to go viral. I have so many subscribers, that kind of thing. And it happened. And I had a video get over, I can't remember, it was between 200 and 250,000 views. And compared to what I was getting on everything else, freaked me out. I knew there was a connection between manifesting and tarot. Excuse me, like hiccups. But I didn't know what it was at that point. And I was just like, I know I'm good at tarot readings. Everybody's always telling me how good I am at it. And I like doing it. I'm comfortable doing it. I know that I can help people doing it. I didn't know what any of that meant, but I really wanted to talk about manifesting. So I was like sharing experiences, but I still didn't get what I was doing. And so when that video went viral, I was like, I can't keep doing this, because if I actually get clients, I don't know, I can't help them because I have no fucking clue what I'm doing. And it freaked me out. So I ended up getting off of TikTok. And that was like the one thing that happened. But the other thing that happened was I found somebody talking about the law of assumption and Neville and the Bible, and how specifically you can manifest anything. But like the main thing that he was talking about was manifesting specific people. And in all of my manifesting shit, it was always, this or something better. You don't have any control. You get what you get. Like, that was what I thought manifesting was. It was just like, do this shit and then like hope things work out for the best. I didn't understand. And I was like, I'm like, you can't manifest specific people. That's wrong. Like, you can't, that, like, how could you even do that? Like, forget, it was both the how the fuck do you do that, and like, that's wrong. You can't manifest, like, what about their free will and like that kind of shit, which I was kind of playing in with the tarot stuff too. Again, I just didn't understand. I really didn't. And that was like, in a way, such a light bulb moment for me of like, if that's true, then this stuff makes a lot more sense than I thought I did. Like, I thought it did. It makes way more sense. If it's everything, it makes more sense. But that was a huge ask, especially from where I came from. And being in a cult, of course, I was like, well, but my coach says this, so who's right? But I started to question it. So at that point, I had decided that I needed to get back into doing the stuff with my coach, because like, things did seem to go better when I was doing that crap than when I wasn't doing it. I was not changing my thoughts because I did not understand that that's what I needed to be doing. So if that is her intention with her coaching, she's not good at teaching jack shit, but whatever. So I got back into doing coaching stuff. At that point was when I was like, I am fucking tired of hearing these people bitch and moan and complain on these calls, because I've been in this group for over 3 years and I'm still hearing the same shit that I was hearing on day one. So I stopped getting on the calls, but I was doing, she had assignments. Like, we do your assignment every day. Not like ever think about an old assignment, but just do your assignment or script or whatever bullshit, right? And I was doing it so hard. I was, doing all the things, and It wasn't doing anything. And that was when at some point I found Naya, who I found her before she changed the channel name to Naya, when she was still really focused on Naya Visions and talking about how tarot and the law of assumption go together. And I was like, see, I fucking knew it. And so I started learning about the law of assumption and all the stuff that she talks about. And it started to make more sense. And I was like, okay. And meanwhile, I was questioning my law of attraction coach more and more and more and more. And there were things that happened where I was just like, okay, but like, if these other people are right, you are so fucking wrong. And it was from Naya. She mentioned Sammy a few times. And I was like, who is Sammy Ingram? And I just kind of let it go a few times. But after, I don't know, 3 or 4 times of hearing it, it's like, okay, I'm at a point right now, who's Sammy? And I Googled Sammy Ingram and watched one of her videos, and my entire life changed. I was like, what the actual fuck? Her being like, it's just your thoughts. I couldn't believe that it was that simple, and I didn't understand exactly what that meant at that time. But I also, part of me knew I had just found the missing piece of the puzzle. So a few months before I found Sammy, well, I guess kind of in that year, so coming into 2022, I went back to dog grooming. I was inspired to go back to grooming and started working with the people that I originally worked with, who we bought the shop from. And I was only there for like a couple months. But there were a couple things that happened that after I found Sammy, I looked back and went, oh fuck, that's how that happened. I didn't know and I didn't understand at that point. But after finding Sammy, starting to understand what was actually happening, how things actually worked, I was like, oh, okay. And I've told these stories before, but one of my dogs, I took her to the vet. She had a lump on her neck. And I, as a self-soothing thing, kind of, I don't remember I don't remember why I was doing this, but I just decided, kind of like with my dad, but I think I was more conscious of it at this point, of like, no, Precious is healthy. She's healthy. I'm going to imagine her healthy. I know I was listening to Naya, so it was probably hearing like some of the stuff she talked about Neville, but I just was like, in my imagination, Precious was going to be healthy. The vet was going to tell me she was healthy. She had this lump on her neck. You could see it. It was big enough to see it. I took her to the vet, showed the vet tech. She takes her to go see the vet because I can't be in the room. I went with my brother. We can't be in the room with her. She attacks people. So we're like, we'll stay in the car, take her in. They took her to see the vet. I get the call from the vet. She looks great, but where's that lump on her neck? And it's like, you can't miss the fucking lump on her neck. Sure enough, it was gone. And I knew it was a manifestation. I knew it was a manifestation. But I also was like, I can't tell my manifestation coach about my manifestation because they won't believe me. Which is like, oh, fucking weird, but that's how I felt. So I just was like, I knew that was a major thing and it was a manifestation, but I didn't understand how I did it or like what happened. I didn't understand. But I was like, that was a big thing. So a little bit after that, I was working at that shop and there was somebody working there and I'm like, I can't with this person. And I just affirmed, they don't work here anymore. I didn't know it was an affirmation. I didn't know I was imagining. I just decided because I didn't want to be upset about working with this person. That was just what I did to, like, again, make myself feel better. And within a few weeks, she ended up getting fired. And they ended up hiring somebody better. And I ended up being like, I can't groom. I was scared to go back, and it's like, yeah, this is not for me. So I quit grooming again. But those two experiences, after I quit grooming, I knew I wanted a business. I wanted to work for myself. I wanted to work from home. I wanted to help people. That was the big thing out of everything. I'm like, I want to help people. I just didn't know how to help people. And I had edited some podcasts for my coach, and in exchange, she was doing some one-on-one coaching with me for business. She's like, if you want to use it for business, we can do that. So after I quit grooming, I was like, I have a little bit of money. Let me start a business and we'll go from there. So knowing full well, my coach knew full fucking well that I wasn't working and that I had no idea of what kind of business I was wanting. And I did all the business coaching. And when I started, I told her, I'm like, I don't care if I get a job or if I have a business. I just am tired of being miserable. I want to be happy. I want to love my life. Okay, we'll do all this crap and like come up with all this shit and whatever. And it was, I think that was about 2 months. And it was right before my last one-on-one that I did with that coach that I found Sammy. It was like Wednesday or Thursday, and then that next Monday was my last one-on-one. And when I found Sammy, and she's like, it's your thoughts. You can do whatever the fuck you want. It blew my mind. And I was just like, holy fuck. Like, okay, sure. So I did that last one-on-one call with my coach at that time, and she was like, yeah, she like had me start a podcast and like all this shit. Like I was doing all the things, and again, I was doing what I was doing in 2021, where it's like, I guess I know what I'm talking about. I'll just talk about shit because she's telling me to talk about shit, which I'm pretty sure is how she got started. But I was like, okay, so what about money? I don't think I mentioned, her specialty is manifesting people money. And after 3 years, I still didn't know how to manifest money. So, and when I started the business coaching, I'm like, I'm a little worried about money, but I just want to be happy. I don't care. I want to make money and be happy. How do I do that? Okay, do all these things. Okay, I did all the things. So 2 months later, I'm like, okay. I'm like, what am I supposed to do? Like how do I make this business successful when I don't even know what it is? And what do I do about money? Because I don't have, like, I need money. And she's like, well, Sonja, you're just resisting getting a job because you have no idea when this business will make you money. You're just going to have to figure that out. This was after I found Sammy and had the idea of my entire experience is just my thoughts. I didn't understand it, but like I had that light bulb moment and I was fuming, fucking pissed. I got off that call. The last thing she said to me is, I'll talk to you soon. I was like, yeah, click off of Zoom. I was like, holy fuck. I was so pissed. I have never been as mad in that moment as I was then. I was mad at myself. I was mad at my coach. I was fucking pissed. And in that rage, I was like, okay, I know Sammy's right. Like, I know that what she's saying is right. I know that what my coach has been telling me is bullshit. And I'm going to prove it fucking right to myself. So I was like, I am going to manifest a job in the next like week. It took me a couple weeks to get to that point because I was so fucking mad. Like I couldn't function. I was so pissed. And I was just reeling, like spiraling out of control again because I was like, what the actual fuck? It was like a week after my one-on-one that I just sent my coach an email and was like, yeah, I'm done. And she canceled an appointment that we had, and I never heard anything from her. She never said anything to me about leaving after I'd worked with her for over 3 years. And so after I kind of like calmed back down and like got my footing, it's like, I need a job. And I'm like, I need a job this week. I need a job this week. And I started affirming. And I got one job. And then toward the end of the week, I had an interview for another job. And I ended up deciding that I wanted that job more than the job that I had gotten. I was the least qualified person that they interviewed. And I affirmed, and they hired me. And I declined the other job, wanting the other job and getting the other job. And that was me going, yeah. All that shit I had been doing up until this point meant nothing. Absolutely meant nothing. Now, I do know that I grew a lot, and a lot of things, happened and changed and whatever in that time, in that experience. But my true understanding and like, I did not get what I wanted out of that experience. I wanted answers, and I got fed a lot of bullshit. And so when I found the answer, not only did I have a lifetime of limiting beliefs and bullshit to like go through and change and affirm through, I had to deprogram myself from a cult where every thought was, well, my coach said this, and she said this, and this, and she said that, and you can't do this, and all of her rules that she set up about how manifesting works and how it doesn't work, including, I think I've mentioned this, with the job. I remember I got on the call on one of the coaching calls wanting a specific job. I remember a lot of people over 3 years being like, I found my dream job. How do I get it? And she would be like, you can't. You just do your work and you'll either get that job or something better. And I proved that that was bullshit. It was at that point that I just started affirming. I still didn't understand. I was watching videos, but now I understood. I'm like, okay, this is the answer. Now, how does it all fit together? Not truly understanding like how much it is just your thoughts, not truly understanding how much you can do and think whatever you want. But I did start robotically affirming, and I was changing my affirmations like crazy, and like, because I really felt like every thought in my head needed to go, and I wanted to change everything. And so, listening to different people, trying to like get the best, like who had the right answer. And that was when I realized like everyone is doing what's best for them. You can do whatever is going to work for you. But it was in all of those affirmation sessions, all of the hours I was spending affirming, that like I started to understand. It just took practice. And it was December of last year when I was like, I have too many affirmations. There's too many things. I can't spend enough time affirming all of this stuff, because I just like, I have no life. Like all I do is fucking affirm. So I was like, isn't it wonderful? Isn't it wonderful? Everything's perfect. And I started affirming that through December of last year, and manifested, things manifested here and there and whatever. But like, it was, as I started to do it more, as I started to understand it more, that was when I remember watching a video about like instant manifestation and being like, oh man, I want to instantly manifest something. That would be so cool. And like this whole reality shifting thing, that's so cool. It was a while after I was like listening to and understanding and doing stuff that it hit me, Precious's lump disappearing was an instant manifestation. It was a reality shift. It was, I was in one reality where she had a lump and then she no longer did. Telling myself she would be healthy is what manifested that. Telling myself that person wasn't going to work there much longer is what manifested that. It was looking back at past things I had manifested while I was at that job too, which this is unheard of. Groomers get paid a percentage in most grooming salons. They get paid commission. And I got a raise in my commission while I was working at that job. That is fucking unheard of. I had never heard of anybody in the grooming industry getting paid commission, getting a raise. And I managed to do that while I was there. Again, I was telling myself I make good money, things like that. Again, I didn't know at the time, but as I was practicing and learning, I started to look back and understand like how things had happened in my past and how I did things. Like how I got the dogs, how my dad ended up being healthy, how Precious became healthy. It was like, okay, yeah, I get it. But as I've said, I was having my mindset was just so all over the place. It was so garbage. Things again went down. I ended up getting to go to acupuncture. Getting into energy work has been really helpful for me. But that again, I know that path opened up for me, and those were the answers for me because of my affirming, because I was focusing on my mindset, but I still didn't get it. I was still convinced that it was like the act of affirming that was what manifested. And what manifests is when you get rid of all the other thoughts and just focus on your affirmations. You let your brain throw whatever it wants at you and you just affirm anyway. You change your thoughts, you change your perspective. And that was, I just kept doing it. I 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 can't remember, May, I think it was around May this year, I was like, no, I do want to get on YouTube. And again, I knew I wanted to help people with this stuff. And now it's now I feel like I can, because I actually feel like I have something to say about things, And I was still really struggling with the I don't know. And I'm like, okay, that's got to go. That has to go, which I knew, but I just that one was hard for me. That I stuck with that one for a long time. But one day I was like, well, what do I want to do? And I'm like, I want to make YouTube videos and teach this stuff. I didn't really have that even that much, but underlying, that's what I want to do. I want to make YouTube videos. So I just decided to start telling myself, I'm a YouTuber. 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 And but from that, it opened me up to setting up my channel, starting to make videos, and everything from there till now has just been me deciding that that's how things are now. Yeah. I'm not going to claim to have all the fucking answers, because I don't feel that I do. I just know that there is a lot of stuff that I wish that people would have just said to me, and would have said to me in a way that I would have understood, that would have helped me way more on my journey than any of the shit that they did. I guess something else that happened that kind of made the journey from December until now a little bit more interesting was my grandpa fell and broke his leg and was in and out of the hospital and rehab and stuff. And he ended up passing away at the beginning of June. And finding affirming through all of that for him, and that was such a weird experience, you know, because I honestly do believe that we create everything. I do. But I also believe that there is a lot of shit that either I just don't yet understand or that humans in general don't understand. And I affirmed my ass off for Grandpa, wanting him to be healed, wanting everything to be better. And what happened, but the whole time I affirmed for him, I didn't get to spend a lot of time with him. We're in different states, but my mom was up there with him, and everybody, even the doctors, were like, until the end, he was so aware and so present and so pretty much him. Like, he lived his life the best he could up until he passed. And something that has come up with like me getting into tarot and stuff, I have had experiences with mediumship and talking with my grandpa since he has passed, and I actually feel closer to him now than I did when he was alive. And all of these things really just showing me, yes, you create your reality. But at the same time, there is a lot of things that it's out of your control, but it's in your control. Something I learned from my grandpa's passing was I felt like I failed him, but then afterward it was like he came to visit me and he told me and helped me realize, I guess is more the thing, that the reason he passed was I wanted him to be happy, healthy, and thriving. And he could not do that in this plane of existence. I do believe that there is so much more to our experience than we currently understand. Like I said, I don't know that humans will ever understand it, but I know for a fact that how you choose to think about things influences your reality. It changes your reality. Things you focus on will happen, consciously or unconsciously. You always have a choice, though, about how you are going to think about things, how you are going to see things. You always have a choice of what you are going to do. Even when you don't feel like you do, you need to take your power back and start up here. Choose how you're going to view the situation, because how you are viewing the situation is going to give you different outcomes. And until you can prove that to yourself and practice that, like I said, I practice it every fucking day. I do not allow myself to think shit I don't want to be true. I don't do it anymore. It's not allowed in my head. And it has taken practice. It has taken practice. Because I will tell you, I find it way easier to, read people's comments or talk with friends or whatever and hear their dominant thoughts and their stories or whatever you want to call it, their bullshit, than it is to catch myself on my own. But I am so grateful for where I am right now. I am so proud of myself for all of the work that I have done and where I have gotten, and I am just happy that I have found something that I really enjoy. And I love making videos for YouTube. I love being on TikTok. I love that you guys are leaving comments and letting me help you, help guide you, help bring to light some shit that you're not seeing for yourself. But at the end of the day, you're the one who has to do the work for yourself. I can't change your mindset for you. And I will tell you, I would do it all again if I could get to where I am right now. It was a long journey. It was a hard journey. There was a lot of shit along the way, but in this moment, I know I have full control over it now. Anything I want to revise, I could. I could revise never being in that cult, but there were things that came out of it that I don't want to revise. Same thing with grooming. I could revise and say I was never a dog groomer because that was like my biggest regret, spending that much time in my life doing something I fucking hated. But I have 2 dogs that they're like my kids. And if I wouldn't have been grooming, I wouldn't have ended up with them. But I know I have full control over how I view things. I choose not to have regrets anymore. The past is the past. If things come up that throw me, I revise it in the moment and I move the fuck on. I choose how I want to think about things because that finally has made me feel better in my day-to-day life. And my outer reality changes because of those thoughts. And I can look back at my life and see the experiences I have had have all been a mirror of my internal world. Thank you so much for watching. Holy shit, it just said 01:01:11 on my clock. This is a long video. Thank you so much if you are still here. I love you. You're amazing. I hope you enjoyed my journey. Yeah, I'm gonna keep going with what I'm doing and keep doing it as long as I enjoy it. And I know that my take is helping people, and now people are starting to tell me that, and it means the world to me that my journey can help other people, because if I can help people not go through everything I did, then it was absolutely worth going through what I did. But yeah, if you haven't checked out Create Your Manifestation Lifestyle, it is in the description as always, and be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Love and light.